I apologize for the noise of the traffic. I'm actually near the road in my front yard. But I wanted to do this quick video on how to identify a dandelion while I actually have some false dandelion growing in the yard before I chop it all down with the lawnmower. Identifying dandelion seems easy. We all know what it looks like, but it's actually confused with two other plants quite often. One of those plants is called false dandelion or cat's ear, and the other one is called hawkweed. I don't have any hawkweed growing in the yard today, so I'm unable to show you what that looks like, but I do have cat's ear or false dandelion, and in a few minutes or in a few seconds I'm going to zoom in to show you some of the identifying characteristics so you can tell the difference. But first I want to say, do not panic if you're now second guessing yourself on if you've been using dandelion or cat's ear, because cat's ear is not poisonous. You can eat it. It's actually less bitter than dandelion, so if you've been picking the leaves and putting them in your salad or cooking them up or whatnot, that's perfectly fine. You can use them interchangeably as far as culinary uses go. Medicinal uses, I'm not really aware of any sources that state uses of cat's ear or false dandelion medicinally. Well, that's not true. It's a diuretic. There's some internal uses for it, but nothing as far as topical uses, so like we use dandelion for. So if you've been harvesting dandelion and now you're second guessing if you've actually been using dandelion for soap making or any kind of topical uses, then you haven't harmed yourself, but the uses that you thought you were getting, you probably were not getting, because dandelion's full of magnesium and zinc, and I don't believe cat's ear is. So I'm going to zoom in now and show you a few identifying characteristics for false dandelion, and then I actually have a little dandelion closer to the road, so it's going to be more noisy, that I can show you identifying characteristics for the dandelion. All right. Okay, so the number one thing to know is dandelion has one shoot. False dandelion does not. It can have two. The stems branch off or fork like this, and you'll have multiple flower heads. Like here's a good example. So that's one way to know this is not dandelion. Now sometimes false dandelion does not have a second shoot, and it'll be one little stem. So another way to know that this is just right from the look of a flower that this is not dandelion is the stems are much taller and they're solid green. There's no discoloration along the stem, like with dandelion, and I'll show you what I'm talking about when I go to see the dandelion plant. Now, it gets its nickname cat's ear because the leaves feel like the tip of a cat's ear. It has these little bitty fuzzy hairs all over it, and I'm going to zoom super close in to show you the hairs. But this got hairs on the top and bottom of the leaf. But just looking at it right from the start, it has the lobes just like dandelions do, so it's easy to mistake. That's why you need to touch and look for other characteristics. Okay, so let's zoom in. Okay, so you can see the hairs covering this dandelion leaf. I'm going to move this flower. It's on both sides. Can you see that? Okay, so we have you can see the hairs. It's on both sides, and it feels very velvety, just like dandelion. Now the stem is smooth. I'll show you the stem. There's no spines or anything on the stem. The leaves are velvety. Okay, now I'm going to move over to the dandelion and show you those identifying characteristics. Okay, so this is dandelion. Right off you can tell there's one stem, one shoot. And if you look at it, you can see that discoloration, how it has a little red, purplish coloring on the stem. It's near the flower bloom and at the base. The stem is also a little bit thicker. Now, one misconception is you can tell if it's dandelion if you break the stem and there's a white sap. That's not true. All the plants that dandelion is confused with do that also. Notice that the leaves are forked a little bit deeper, lobed a little bit deeper than the cat's ear or false dandelion, but don't use that as its characteristic. You can see that this is very smooth, and I can zoom very close in so you can see there's no hairs on these leaves. It's very smooth, no velvety feeling like cat's ear. As you can see, smooth leaves. Dandelion, just like cat's ear, the entire plant is edible, so don't worry if if you're a little nervous that you've been confusing the two. They're not going to hurt you. Yeah. There is a third plant called hawkweed that is confused for dandelion, and like cat's ear, it can have multiple flower heads from the stem. But unlike cat's ear or dandelion, its leaves are not lobes like this. They're smooth, so there's no there's smooth edges. So if you see a plant that looks like dandelion, usually growing around a field, and the leaves are not lobed like this, it is not dandelion. It is not false dandelion. That is called hawkweed, and I don't really know much about hawkweed besides it's not dandelion, so I'd have to do a little research if you have any questions on that. Otherwise, can't speak on that too much at this moment. Oh, another fun fact, false dandelion or cat's ear, it actually comes from Europe. It was brought over just like broadleaf plantain was brought over with the English settlers, so it's not native to the Americas. It's native to European countries, but it's used all over the world now. It's naturalized just about everywhere, and I believe there's a few I think I saw a few Japanese recipes that called for cat's ear or false dandelion, and like I said, it's not as bitter as dandelion, so if you've been misidentifying cat's ear for dandelion and then you go look for dandelion to eat it, you might be a little shocked at how much bitter dandelion is. And you can use the roots of both too. Dandelion has a much bigger, longer taproot than false dandelion or cat's ear. So if you've been misidentifying and you find real dandelion and dig up the root, you might be pleasantly surprised at how much more taproot you get than with cat's ear. So that's all that I have for you today. Thanks.